What's going on, people? This is your boy, Mandel Anthony, with A.L.N.S. Always a lion, never a sheep. Now, we have a very special guest in the studio today. I've been knowing this young lady for probably about 13, 14 years. But it's been probably about 10 years since we actually seen each other. You know, she's one of the executives in the music industry. And she's going to tell you all of the people that she represents, that she worked with. We're going to go over her life story, how she got into it, and everything. Introducing Miss Necole.
Hello.
How's it going, Necole?
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. It's been so long. Oh my God.
It's been a long time, but I'm so
You
glad
look the
you're
same.
here, girl.
You age well.
I try. You know, it's funny. I normally would color this, but you know, Walmart ran out of coloring, so I decided to keep it written. No, I'm just trying something different. So
It looks good on you.
I want to see how it works.
It looks good on you. Real good on you.
Well, thank you, because if I get like bad reviews, it's going back black again.
No, you look fine. You look fine.
So, tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry, what exactly it is you do in the industry.
Okay.
And what are some of the pitfalls of getting into the industry? Because I know, you know, being a woman, a very attractive woman in the industry, it can make things very hard for you. So we want to see hear about some of those pitfalls too, and then we're going to get into a little bit of your personal life.
Okay. So what I do is I'm an independent artist manager, and I'm music coordinator too as well, and I help with label A&R services as well. So I'm an independent. I do consulting with everyone that wants to work with me.
Okay.
So mainly what happened was my daughter started singing when she was 15.
Okay.
So I started learning the business for her to protect her. And when I was learning the business, I learned about copyright, intellectual property, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And when she ended up going to college, she decided, I'm not feeling it, I'm going to go to college. Okay. She left me with all this knowledge and no kids. So I was like empty nesting.
Okay.
So I came across Ronnie O, who was, I actually did sports. I used to do sports before my daughter. When my daughter was singing, I was doing sports writing.
Okay. So
I booked Ronnie O for a show for the Raider Nation. And then he ended up asking me to come on and work with him. Okay. So when I was doing the research about learning about his history, I learned about Brother Marquise and Two Live Crew and how their rights got stolen.
Okay.
So because I had all this knowledge about copyright, I ended up facilitating the case to get back the rights from the record label after 35 years.
Okay, so basically you didn't go to college or nothing for none of this. You learned all this on your own. You made it for yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't need college to actually do it.
Nope.
What were you doing before you got into the music industry?
I was a sports writer.
Okay.
Sports. I'm doing. I used to sports host for Yahoo Radio and SB Nation. So I was into sports. So it all goes back to like my life story where my ex-husband was abusive and he used to beat the shit out of me. Okay. I'm sorry, but
you're fine.
So I used to put headphones into the closet, and I used to listen to the Lakers. And with Chick Hearns would do the play-by-play. Yeah. So I put my headphones on in the closet when I was hiding, and I didn't feel none of the pain, didn't feel none of the throbbing, but I was on the court with the game. So I learned the game really good.
Okay.
So when he ended up getting sent to prison, me and my daughters moved out, got our own place, and I got a computer, and I was on MySpace. Okay. And it was like
MySpace, wow.
So MySpace. So then I was doing the bulletins, I got anxiety. I didn't leave my house because of all the abuse. So bulletin and MySpace was my way to interact with everyone. So I would put my take about the game on bulletin. So an NFL beat writer hit me up and asked me, could I do that for football?
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do it for football. So
it was just kind of by chance that you know you were doing something to relieve the frustration and anxiety that you had. And it turned into something profitable for you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then, so I ended up writing for the Raiders for a little while for blogs and whatnot, and then Laker Nation and whatnot, and got real popular within the fan group and that thing. So then, when the writers or when the editors saw how I looked and how I talked, like my writing wasn't, I guess, normal like a normal girl, because I would say stuff like, I wouldn't bend over in front of Kobe Bryant. And I wouldn't let Michael Vick Dawson.
Oh no, I don't know if that's. Well, because laughing at that is appropriate today, but
I would have been over. So would and I wouldn't let Michael Vick dog sit. But but I would pay to watch him play. Okay. So let's leave all that personal stuff off the court and let's just deal with what they do on the court. Like everyone, I don't bring that on the court.
So basically, you're saying that not that the thing that they were doing, um, it didn't turn you off from what their talent was.
It wasn't about that. It was about the game.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but when
So you didn't mix the two.
I didn't.
And the reason why I'm
And
emphasizing
they do
that
it now,
because
and I
of
can't
today,
stand it.
everything is what people do off the court. They're trying to put it with what they're doing on the court or on the field,
They
and
need
they're
to
two
stay
totally
up.
separate
Exactly.
things. People have their own lives outside of sports, and those lives that they have outside of sports shouldn't have nothing to do with the sports.
I agree with that.
Like a lot of people are saying, ban R. Kelly's music. Don't get me wrong. What R.
Oh,
Kelly,
don't even get me started on that.
Kelly did,
I'm sorry. He is innocent. They're framing him like no other.
I will say this. In Chicago, because I'm from Chicago, born and raised. Him, and not justifying this and not saying that it's right by any means, but him being with younger women or young girls, should I say, that's something normal that's in Chicago. When I was in high school, you didn't see high school kids picking up these juniors and senior girls. You saw grown men picking up these senior girls and taking them out. So again, not condoning it, not saying it's right by any means, but I'm just wondering why they're picking on him versus everybody else that does this. Now, I don't know if he's innocent or not, but it doesn't take away from his artistry for me.
Agree.
I mean, his music is amazing. People have been raised on his music. People have been born on his music. People have been made on his music. So the idea of taking his artistry away because of mistakes that he may have made, I think is wrong.
Well, my take on this is his contract's up to get his music rights back.
Okay.
Now, if you get your music rights back, do you know how much millions of dollars he's taking from the label? Well, so the only way they could keep, because when you get your rights back, you have a 5-year deadline. You have 5 years to get it. After if you don't get it within that 5-year time frame, you lose all your rights forever.
Wow.
So if you keep them distracted in prison,
exactly. Well, I think it was the same thing that kind of happened with Bill Cosby. Am I in any way, form, or fashion saying that these young ladies or women that made these accusations against them are wrong? No, that's not what I'm saying.
Why did it take so many years to do it?
And that is my thing is too. Why did they take so many years to do it? And then why did such a plethora of women come out all of a sudden?
Someone got paid.
Now people got to understand what happened with Bill Cosby is he was about to buy one of the largest networks in this country.
Right.
Everybody loved Bill Cosby. He's the America's family, but he still got to stay in his place.
Exactly.
And they made sure he knew that he had to stay in his place. So the idea of him buying, I think it was ABC or NBC or one of the two of those.
NBC. Yeah.
The idea of him buying such a major network and he had the capital and ability to do it, they let him know, okay, you still a black man.
Exactly.
Make sure you know what your place in this world.
Exactly.
I do feel like you said there is some truth to R. Kelly being framed. I'm not saying that some of the stuff that he did wasn't outlandish.
Well, did you read the court? Did you read the court documents?
No,
I did.
Okay.
And honestly, a lot of people that testified against him, they could have got their testimony thrown out because it is contradicting, or they could have brought character witnesses and had them discredited.
Okay.
And the whole herpes thing, that's another thing too. So it's like there's so many things that they could have got testimony thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the media has so much say on it. It's already the jury is going to have to say guilty, otherwise they're going to be blamed for that. So it's like
it's it's kind of the same thing that's going on, and I'm not going to hit too much on this. Same thing that's going on with COVID. They're pressuring people to either go against other people to try to force those people to take the vaccine. And it's all it's doing is creating more and more division. You got to understand. When you make a disease political, you're making that disease divisive, because politics is the most divisive tool in this country. So when you put some politics on something that shouldn't be politics at all, if this is truly a health crisis, there should be no politics involved in it.
Exactly.
But everything about COVID is politics. Anytime someone is against, COVID or vaccines, they basically say they're right wing. Or they're Republican.
Exactly.
If they're for COVID, they're Democrats. But it shouldn't be that way, because I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat, and I don't believe in getting the vaccine. That would never be shot into my body, And I think it should be about choice. So the problem is, there's a lot of stuff is being politicized.
Very much so.
From the whole Bill Cosby thing to R. Kelly to COVID to a bunch of different things are being politicized because it makes it very divisive. It puts people on one side of the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and it never brings that unison. Like when Biden said that, he was going to be the uniter for the country.
Oh, yeah, right.
But you mandating all these vaccines, all that's doing is dividing the country far more than it is, which allows for invasion from another country, because when you're divided as a country, you're weak as a country.
And then you have open borders, and it's even more so.
Exactly. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on, and I don't want to veer off the path too much, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on that people really need to wake up to.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are hypocrites, are contradicting themselves. Like, you guys are saying my body, my choice, but now when it's my body, my choice, you guys don't want it to be said. It's
exactly.
like,
I don't understand how pro-choice became selective.
Right.
I mean, Democrats was hollering pro-choice, abortion, but abortion is killing someone.
Exactly.
And I know they say, well, if it's not a heartbeat, it's not killing. It's still a potential life.
Mm-hmm.
So it is killing someone, which I don't believe in abortions, but I believe in pro-choice, meaning if you want to get abortion,
exactly.
I'm fine with it.
You pay for it.
I'm just not going to get it for the people that I love.
Well, that's what a lot of people get confused at, is because they believe that we're like, you can't have an abortion.
Exactly.
It's like, we're not saying you can't.
Exactly.
I'm just saying I don't want my tax dollars going to that.
Well, the problem is that, you can't, people feel like you can't ride both sides of the apple.
Yeah.
If you're anti-abortion, then you're anti-abortion. You can't be pro-choice and anti-abortion. Yes, the hell I can. For me, I don't believe in abortion.
Exactly.
But for other people, that's their right. That's their choice. That's the same thing I feel about COVID. I'm not telling nobody don't get a vaccine.
Exactly.
If you want to get it, knock yourself out. Just don't expect me to get it.
Don't force me.
Don't, feel like I can't talk to him no more. I can't be around. You got families disowning other family members because they don't want to get a vaccine. This is the weirdest. Weirdest environment we have been in since I've been born in 48 years.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense. And the fact that people are okay with this is what
they're
bothers
adapting.
me the most.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the premise of my podcast. It's always a lion, never a sheep. Meaning I'm going to always think for myself. I'm not going to allow what's being projected on TV or being projected from the government or being projected from my best friend to dictate what I feel. I'm going to do my research, and based off the research that I do, I'm going to come to a conclusion as to how I feel about it.
Exactly.
And the unfortunate part is that's not what our government wants. They don't want you thinking for yourself, because when you think for yourself, you don't really need the government anymore.
They want to tell you what to think.
So the more that they can control you and tell you what to do, the more necessary the government is. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not sitting here trying to bash the government. The government, there's a necessity. There's a necessity for government or for officials. There is a necessity, but I think it has gone down the complete wrong path.
Oh, definitely. It's so corrupt right now. Yeah. Both sides are corrupt.
Exactly. That's what I understand. This is the last thing I'm gonna say about this. I feel that blind loyalty to any political party is stupid and irresponsible. If you're going to have affiliation to a political party, have it based off of what they are doing to help you and your people. Mm-hmm. And when I say your people, I'm not talking about a race. I'm talking about the people that's around your community. Mm-hmm. If they're not doing nothing to help your community, then why are you voting for them, regardless of what political party they're in?
Especially the ones that have been there for so long.
Exactly.
They got 30 years for it. It's like, come on.
And their minds are stuck in a certain way.
But they keep saying they're going to help, but then they don't. Exactly. It's like, how
if they've been there for 30 years and they ain't helped your community, what makes you think they're going to help your community next year when you vote for them again?
Exactly.
So I don't understand it, but, let's digress.
Okay, because I could go all day on that one,
exactly.
too. Okay,
and my producer knows that I can sit and talk about this all day.
I can too, though. But I like the fact that you have an open mind, and like a lot of people don't have that open mind, and it's like when I express what I think, it's not like I'm trying to say you're wrong.
Exactly.
I actually want to know what you're thinking, so that I could come to a better understanding. Exactly, but
want it because it helps me understand if what I'm feeling is correct or not.
Thank you. You get inside their head. Like, I was like, why do you feel that way? And I can understand why you feel that way. But they get it. Most of them get it like I'm attacking them. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when at the show that I booked Ronnie O at, I did the whole show production by myself, and it was for the Raider Nation in Rosarito, Mexico. Okay. And they didn't like what my view was on the border.
Oh wow!
So they waited.
Because your background is Hispanic.
Yes, it's Hispanic. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I brought the party to the people across the border, and yet, I go look. The way I see it is like, if someone is going to come through my bathroom window, or try to get in my car, or try to go through the windows to get in my house, I'm going to do whatever I can to get them out.
Well, see, this is my thing.
It's like, you just can't just come in through the back doors and all the windows, and you're going to get
Because see, this is what This is what I meant earlier by saying that you can be on either side of the aisle. I'm not. I've been a Democrat my whole life until this whole COVID thing came about, and it opened up my eyes to see how the Democratic Party, from what I've seen through this, is strictly about control, about as much control as they can muster to keep people dedicated to the government. I think that some stimulus packages are necessary. I think that some public aid is necessary, but I think it needs to be far more streamlined in it and not just handed out to people. Because I said this before on one of my podcasts. If I feed my dogs every day, they're gonna love me. If I stop feeding my dog, when I go back there, they're gonna want to bite me in my ass. So as long as you feed them, of course they're gonna love you, and that's what the Democratic Party is doing to gain that control.
Exactly.
Now, as far as borders, I agree. I kind of agree with the Democratic Party. I do.
No, I agree too.
Views, but I
agree too. Though to finish what I was saying, I want them to come, but I like, from being a family of immigrants myself. Like, my ex-husband, he's Cuban, and his mom was Mexican and brought 7 brothers and sisters over. A lot of my friends are like that. Their parents came over and they brought their brothers and sisters, but they did it the right way. So there's rules and regulations for a reason. Like, you have to come to my front door or give me a call before you come over.
Well, I totally agree with that aspect. But that's more specific. For me, I feel like where we're sitting right now was Mexico.
Exactly.
And we didn't buy this from Mexico. We took it from Mexico. So the idea of saying you can't come back to where you're from doesn't make sense to me. I feel that we all
but am I here though?
Am I, well, not necessarily from here, but it was Mexico, so they were from Mexico. But what I'm saying is, do I feel that the borders just should be wide open? No, because that would be an influx of people that our economy could not afford.
Exactly.
But I feel that it should be easier for people to do it legally. It is so difficult to. You gotta understand, when you got someone coming from Guatemala or from Mexico or from Haiti, even all the people came through Mexico from Haiti. When you got people, they're poor. So the idea of them being able to spend $10,000-$20,000 to get citizenship, they don't have that a bit. They come over here to make a better life. So where are they supposed to get that money from to be able to do it legally? So I think, and don't get me wrong, there are what is it called, immunity, laws where they can come over on immunity, but then it's so strenuous. It's most of these people are. I'm not gonna say that. Some of these people are not as educated to be able to do the type of work or things that they need to do to make it legal. Make it easier for them to come over, because they're not. The majority of people that's coming over here not coming over here to be criminals, like people try to make it out to be. The majority of people that's coming over here is trying truly to find a better life for them and their kids. That's what the American dream was supposed to be. A better life. You come here for a better life. Like, let's say all these people that used to come to California from Texas, they weren't Californians.
Now they're going back to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. But they wasn't American. I mean, they wasn't Californians. They were Texans. But it was fine with them coming to California for a better life for themselves. What's the difference with the borders, in my opinion?
Oh, because it's a different country.
Well, I understand that, but you're still a human being seeking a better life.
And I agree. I do agree they need to make it easier for them and not as expensive. Or they can have sponsorship, because when my mother-in-law brought her family over, it was sponsorship.
Talk about sponsorship, because we tried to do that too.
Oh, really? So but the thing, all these young generations that got citizenship because their parents came illegally, but now their kids are legal.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and these are the ones that are the loudest at these protests. I want to know, why isn't there an influx of immigrant attorneys? Like, if you're so upset by this situation, then you become an attorney, and with the education that you got from this country that gives you opportunity, you're so upset by it, so become an immigration attorney.
I agree. I think that more of the people that come over here should do more to fit into this.
Well, if you're going to be complaining, they need to be doing something.
I agree. They need to do more to be able to adapt. I mean, and no one is telling you to lose your heritage by any means. But if you want to come to this country, then you should show that you want to come to this country. I do agree. Now, with the whole sponsorship thing, because my wife is Mexican, and one of her cousins, we call her 56, because when we went to visit her in Mexico, she was 26. And that's the only thing she could say in English was 56. So I call her 56. But we was going to bring her over here to be a nanny for us, right? Now, the problem with sponsoring someone is you're on the hook for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we didn't get along with her. She got here and we just didn't get along with her, and she wanted to stay here. She decided to stay here. We still got to pay her bills. We still got to pay for her safekeeping, even if she don't live with us, even if we don't talk to her no more. That's the problem with sponsorship.
Okay, can we stop you right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem with someone you have that you're related to. Now you're asking Americans to take in on people that coming across the border and have to pay their bills and taking care of them and watch. We're responsible for them. So if you're doing that for your own family, can you imagine how a lot of, not saying I do, but Americans feel about having to take care of someone else like that? The same way that you're saying. So
now
we sponsor them.
Your tax dollars. Do you dictate where your tax dollars go?
Yeah. Well, no, they do.
No, exactly. So
that's why we don't.
At the end of the day, your tax dollars are going to be taken from you regardless. So people always say, "Well, I don't want to pay for this as a taxpayer." Your tax dollars are taken from you regardless, and where they go is not up to you.
We want it to be up to us,
but it's not. Unfortunately, you're right. We do want it to be up to us.
That's where the division comes from.
So the problem is with when our tax dollars go to the federal government, they can dissipate those tax dollars however they want. I would much rather. This is for me. I would much rather see someone have a better life made for themselves than a congressman making $1 million a year.
Okay, so my question is, your sister-in-law, right? Your sister-in-law, the nanny.
Yes.
Okay. Was she a bad person that you were scared to risk the fact that she would flee or be a flight risk?
I had no idea the type of person that she was outside of what I'd known about her when I met her for the brief time I met her. And she seemed like a very good person, but the point is.
But you still didn't want to risk it.
Well, no, because personalities can conflict. And I know my personality. I know I'm a very headstrong person. So it may be that she come here and she don't want to stay with us. It may not be me not wanting her to stay. It may be she don't want to stay with us because she's for whatever reason, we're no longer a family, should I say.
Okay, stop you there. Okay, so same thing with people coming over with a different background and different culture. They might not want to adapt to our culture, the American Western way. They have their own ways of being. Maybe they don't want to adapt, but so do they have that right to have their ways of like being abusive to women and the way that they do over there to bring it over here because we allow them to come?
Well, of course not. I think, but you got to understand, we got laws here. So laws here, the abuse to women, there are laws to protect that. The drug selling, there are laws to protect that. But
it's not going to stop it, though.
There are laws to protect that.
But it's still not going to stop it.
It's not going to stop them, but they can be reprimanded for that. Just like an American citizen would be reprimanded for it. So, there are risks with allowing anyone to come over here from a different country, whether it be Mexico, Haiti, or wherever. There are risks, but are we going to say that because there are risks, we're not going to try to give these people a better life?
But we are trying to. We're trying to vet them, but they're coming out.
But we're making it so hard to give them a better life.
You can't. Do you really know the process?
Well, I don't know the entire
so I can't say.
The only thing I know about is sponsorship because we looked into it because we were going to.
But that wasn't because it was hard. It was because you had your own little ideas about it. It wasn't because it was hard.
It was that
you didn't want to risk it.
That you don't. The idea of someone being on the hook for another adult.
Well, that's what America.
But an individual person. America we're multi-trillionaires. I'm not a multi-trillionaire. So the idea of me being on the hook for someone, another adult.
That's kind of what I say. I go, okay, everyone that's saying people come through the borders, okay, you open your bedroom up and have them stay with you then.
Well, in all honesty, we have had people stay with us.
No, but I'm saying take in the immigrant that you're so-called like rooting for, and then I have no problem with that.
Well, I was.
Not you. I'm talking about these ones that are like the ones in New York that have no idea what the border's about, but they're saying that you have to they're saying that we're like. Bad people.
Well, again, I don't think that.
I'm just saying, if everyone that protested would take in an immigrant, I had no problem with that.
Well,
I would be like, go for it.
Again,
I would take it on.
Open, I do want to clarify. I don't think it should be open borders. I think it should be more streamlined. I think it should be easier to allow these people to make a better life for themselves. But I do feel that they need to vet these people.
Yes, they do.
Instead of complaining about letting in drug dealers and terrorists and all that, vet them better. Vet them better. But it shouldn't take 4 years for you to vet someone,
But see, the thing is, since I have family and my in-laws and whatnot, and a lot of people, they never said it was that complicated. Nor did they say it was. They never complained about the process.
To my understanding, back in the day, it wasn't. Back in the day,
that was in Reagan, huh? Reagan made it easy.
My wife's parents are immigrants. Yeah. He came over here as an immigrant working in the field, and now he owns. I'm not gonna state the company because I'm not trying to sponsor him, but he owns, the company that he used to work in the field for. But when they came over, it was easier. From what I understand, from how it is now to how it was back then, it's a lot harder to get here now, and it takes a lot longer to get your citizenship to be able to stay here legally. This is what I feel. They're gonna come over here regardless, and either we could keep spending millions of dollars to send them back, or we can spend millions of dollars to incorporate them into the United States and make them pay taxes. That's more taxes that the United States are getting. Now you got these people coming over here and they working and they're not paying any taxes. They're not contributing to the economy in any way, form, or fashion because they're making all their money. They're keeping it with them because they're legal, so they can't really pay tax. They don't have a social security number. So incorporate these people into our society and make them pay taxes. That can only be beneficial. Why spend millions of dollars to keep these people out when you could spend millions of dollars to legally have them here?
Well, what about the whole paying immigrants because they pay them at a lower rate? So if they make them legal, they would be able to keep the pay rate up higher.
Exactly. But that's the reason. You gotta understand, a lot of these people that's fighting against illegal immigration is the people that's paying these people $3-4 an hour.
Well, I think the both sides actually are not. They're fighting because they want to be right. If they just stop trying to be right, they could sit down. There's a comment. They do want people here. If they would understand that they agree. They're just so like, I just want you to tell me I'm right. Like, I actually think that they should come, but people think I don't want them to come.
Yeah.
But we actually agree, but we just have policies involved that we differ on. Yeah. And we're so caught up in being right, we're not even talking about the policies. In fact, we don't even know the policy.
Exactly.
See, that's how we don't even know the policy, but we're talking about something we don't even know about.
That's true.
But we want to fight about it.
Well, so I think an open debate is a good thing because it gets the topic on the table.
If they're educated, you know what I mean? If someone wants to
even if it's not, long as you're not speaking on something or going into depth on something you really don't know, an open discussion at least puts it on the table. So it allows the people that are educated about it or the people that are well versed in it to discuss it further because the topic is now on the table. So like you and I don't think we're necessarily arguing over it. I think it's just a healthy debate where we're trying to, for me, I'm just trying to get, as we stated earlier, an opposing view so that we
actually
can find
agree.
a commonality to
and we actually agree. Even though you thought we were on the opposite ends, we actually do agree that they should come, but a vetted process and a policy, we actually agree. Yeah. So it's funny how people think we would be opposites on opposites. Exactly. But we're not. Exactly. We actually agree.
But you got to understand, division sells. So people will make us out to be on opposites, even though we know we're not. So, but let's go back to a little bit about you. You spoke briefly on your abusive relationship. Can we talk more about that?
Sure. So I was 18 or 18 at the time. And I was 17, and I was dating a St. Paul. He was like a big football player. And he was like, I was dating him for a couple months, and his older brother from prison gets out. And pretty much, long story short, he ends up kidnapping me and marrying me.
Oh, wow.
And beating me for 3 years, and I ended up having 2 babies out of it. I love my babies, Wow. And I thought at one point I was actually in love with him, but it wasn't. It was just like that sick syndrome.
When we first met, I think you told me about that. Yeah. I don't think we got into depth about it, but I think you did tell me about that. So how did you end up getting out of that? Because I know, when women are in an abusive relationship, it's so hard for them to get away from it, whether it's fear or love, or how did you get out of it?
I was since I grew up in a Christian home, I was like, now that I'm married to him, I got to stick it out because you can't leave your husband. That was one issue. The other issue was he was so violent. When I got married to him, he was actually out on bail, and that's why he took me to get married, because he was looking at 33 years to life because he stabbed someone 11 times. Wow. And so I was scared about who's he going to hurt just to get me. So why would I put anyone else in danger for me putting myself in this situation?
So you were concerned about your family being in
his family, his friends, and then people in between, and then my people that are protecting me, and then my So at one situation, his own brother, my ex-boyfriend at the time, he ended up shooting him for me so I could get away. Wow. And he got shot. He shot him 6 times, point blank. Okay. And that fool lived.
His own brother.
Yeah, his own brother.
But his brother was the guy you were dating initially.
Initially.
He kidnapped you.
But like I told him when my ex went to work, I told my brother-in-law Tony, I go, I'm going to take off. Okay. And he was like, he looked at me like, you're gonna put me in this situation, because we all knew, like, great, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he goes, do what you gotta do, girl, because he had to stop him from hitting me a couple times. So I took off, and when he came back from work, he's like, he saw the letter, and he's like, I'm gonna go get her, and my brother-in-law just like, no, you're not. He goes, yeah, I am, and then that's when the whole shot.
So did all three of you live together? How did he know about the letter?
We all lived together. That's him. Yeah.
So when you left and he shot him 6 times, I mean, what happened after that?
Well,
because
that
you said
day,
he lived.
the same day he got shot, the same day I left, I found out I was pregnant.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exact same day.
So I mean, what was the final outcome? Because you said he lived. So how did you?
So I came back.
Get away from? Oh,
so I came back after I found out I was pregnant with my first child. So I came back, had another child by him, and then I got so tired of the beatings. I'm like, just kill me. So I'm like, just do it.
So you got to a point where
he was doing it, and then I was running out of my house, bloody and all that, and they followed the blood trail, found me, and arrested him.
And then is that when he went to jail?
He went to jail.
But you have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
Correct? So this was after the second kid that happened.
My babies were 1 and 2 when it happened.
Oh wow. So having gone through something like that in your life, how did you recover from that? Because you seem pretty strong, and you moved on with your life, and you made a positive career for yourself. I mean, because something like that can be very traumatic. How did you move on from that?
God, it's all my faith. My faith that God exists, because my fingerprints are all over my life. There's no reason I should be here. It's the faith in Him. Because there's food that came miraculously that fed my kids. Okay. So I know He exists. Okay. So yeah. I mean, I've always been strong in the work. I was raised in a Christian home. Okay. So I've just leaned on Him. There's a reason for it. You want to put me through more than I can handle. And exactly. So that His word, His promise, that's what got me through a lot of it.
But do you feel that experience made you stronger as a woman? Not saying that you wanted to go through that experience by any means, but you going through that experience and having survived that experience, do you feel that it makes you stronger for future relationships?
I feel like He made me more like gangster, kind of His mentality. Okay, I think that. Okay, I always think I thought. Well, they said I was institutionalized.
Oh wow!
It's because like He used to put my toothpaste on, tie my shoes, I didn't have to cut my meat. He used to I thought that was love.
Really?
And they're like, no, that's how you keep a hostage.
Exactly. That's control.
That's how you keep a hostage. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's not love. No, that's how you keep a hostage. So I didn't have to do none of that. So we fought like we were Sally's. Like he even said I thought she was my Sally. So they said I was institutionalized. But then after I reunited with some high school friends after this whole situation. And I'm like, yeah, my ex made me this way, right? And one of my friends goes, no, Necole, you were like this when you were in high school. I'm like, what do you mean? So one time we ditched, and I came to my house, and the cops were there because I did something with Johnny. And I'm like, uh-huh. And he's like, and you were like, hold on, I got this. And you went and handled the cops for me. And I'm like, I did that? I go, so I always had this mentality? So it's not my ex-husband? Because that's probably what drew your ex-husband to you. Yeah. That you were loyal like that, and you would do anything for your family and friends.
So do you feel that experience kind of, I mean, because you said you don't even remember when you went and handled the cops for your friend.
I don't remember.
Do you feel that part of your life just kind of made you black out everything else that took place prior to your life, where you couldn't really remember?
Probably, yeah, because everything else is so little minuscule compared to what I was like. We were on the run in TJ.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we got jumped in TJ together, and
so y'all went on the run to one of the worst places in Mexico.
Yeah. We were there for 6 months, and we only had enough money to feed each other for 1 meal a day, because he was a big guy. He was like 6'2" and prison built. Okay. And then I had long hair, so we had to put our buckets of water in the sun all day so we could have warm Luke water, because we had to bathe each other like bird baths, and we had to outhouse
So how does that feel, going from a life like that to where you are now? Because you have your freedom now. You have your independence, should I say now. Mm-hmm. How did it feel going from such a controlled lifestyle to where you are now?
I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't know where I was going to be, actually. It was like, because even after the whole situation, I went against California because they ended up giving him my address when he got out of prison.
They gave him assigned him to your address?
He knew where I was at because some paperwork that was legal paperwork that they offered it to him.
But he went to jail for
exactly
attempting to murder you, and then they gave him.
So I've when I never was on welfare. I had my Social Security.
Okay.
So because I've always worked since I was young. So
Okay.
when they made me, they said I was going to pass away because of the damage she did in my head, because of all the hits in the head, concussion. The brain fluid was called cyst, and they thought the circulation from my brain into my head it was going to kill me. So they gave me until I was 26. Okay. So they immediately put me on Social Security, and I was 24 at the time. And then so my daughters were on Medi-Cal for insurance, right? And I had my Social Security. But when you sign up for this services like that, you're supposed to sign a waiver saying if the father's going to harm you, here, sign this waiver, and we'll go ahead and not release any information to him. And he doesn't even you don't have to collect from him. They won't even go after him. Okay. So they weren't supposed to go after him. But they did. So
they went after him to foot the bill.
Oh yeah, but they gave him my information too. So I'm like, wait, why did you guys? I lived in a back house in Whittier that I found myself. I had to sell drugs at the time, but I was doing what I had to do. I didn't go to a shelter. I didn't go anywhere. I knew I couldn't be in a shelter because of the way I think. Yeah. So, and I never wanted to be in like a mental hospital because that's where they put me when it first happened. Okay. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get my girls. We lived in a back house. I did what I had to do. So when they told me that, oh, he's gonna get out, he knows where you live. Well, I'm like, well, that's your problem. I go, because they're like giving me petty cash and they're gonna put me in an apartment. I go, no, so then it looks like you guys did your job. Yeah. And then meanwhile, I can't pay the rent the next month. Exactly. When I could do it here. And then they're, we'll put you in a hospital. And I go, no, why would I have to go in the hospital? We'll put you in a shelter. Well, no, Mimica's not going to shelter. I go, I'm going to stay right here because I fought that man before. And when I die, if he comes and kills me, my blood's on your hands and my kids will be taken care of. Yeah. So they're like, so then they end up winning that court case and they end up having to put me some money to get me out of there so I could do it.
I mean, I've never experienced anything like that in my life or been around, really anyone that has. So I have to say I applaud you. I mean, because, what you just explained to me, and like I said, I think when we first met years and years ago, you kind of hinted to me, what took place.
I'm not all there.
But, hinted in great detail now, I have to applaud you because that's something, and to see you sitting here and smiling and enjoying life and living life, that is a big accomplishment from things that you've experienced.
Well, it's funny because I started helping Two Live Crew when Brother Marquise was telling me how the record label owner, Little Joe, was like extorting him, like wasn't paying him the right just so he could have power over him, so he could keep having him be like monkeys dance, exactly. Kind of. And that control upset me so much. I'm like, you don't go back. It was like trying to save myself, kind of. Exactly. So I'm like, I'm gonna get you. So I ended up getting his.
So you use your life experience.
I was like, he could. Yeah. I felt like I was having a panic attack because I knew what situation. Exactly. So I'm like, you please don't go back. He didn't go back. He was living on couches, and I was able to get his BMI writers royalty. So now he has an apartment over so he could live in. Okay. But he still has publishing to get. That's still his. So I'm like, let's go after the publishing.
So who are some of the people that you besides?
Well, I work with Ranio from Joe Cooley and Ranio and Joe Cooley. He was my first client, big client. And then Brother Marquise, and then I represent the Uncle Luke and China Man in the whole facilitation of the termination. And then I recently started working with the DOC from the NWA, trying to get his rights back. Okay. We differ on the opinion about how to get it back. I know how much power he has right now, but being that he doesn't know how much power he has. Yeah. Frustrating.
So is he coming around or?
I don't think so. Okay. He's like hoping they change, and I know it's like look, if they were going to change, they would have changed years ago. Why wait to the time that they're now legally have to do it? And it's so sad.
Well, I mean, I don't let it deter you from making sure he gets what he deserves.
Well, I can only do so much. Yeah. Like I'm telling you, don't do it. Okay. Now, if he decides to do it, that's his choice. Exactly. But I'm not going to go along and be profiting from it, knowing he's getting fucked. Okay. So I would have to separate myself.
So where do you see yourself going with this industry that you're in? I mean, what is your hopes with, are you going to just stay on the same level you're at with managing these artists? Or?
I'm very frustrated with the whole ecosystem and how it's set up, like how these artists are not getting paid and how these labels are taking the money and all that. And partly it's everyone's fault. It's the artists really, they need to care more. Because I was just listening to a YouTube video about copyrights and like the whole ecosystem and how music rights are not being properly put into the system. But that starts from the artist. Okay. If you don't care, it's like that's your baby. You want to know the size of your baby, the color of it.
I agree.
Like remember when we were little, we had the little ID bracelets. Yeah. Well, that's what your music needs to have. Okay. Like who's the owner? Who like so that way you get paid.
Well, I think the unfortunate part is, and we talked about this on a previous podcast that I was on, but I think the issue is that you got a lot of these people that come in and they have nothing, and these labels throw this big money, this big number at them,
that's
and
rare,
they don't
though.
Read, what they're signing basically.
Okay, but whose fault's that?
It is the artist's fault, by all means, by all means. But
that happens rarely, though. So all these other artists that are coming into this ecosystem, what's their excuse for not setting themselves up? It's like going into business, right? This is a business. So when you go into business, you know where your profit's coming from. Why don't they?
I agree. I totally agree.
It's like, why? And then you're going to cry about it.
Probably because they don't have a lot of people out here like you educating them on that.
But that's their business.
And unfortunately,
you go learn it.
But
I don't understand that.
But if we go back to the whole COVID thing, more people are sheep than they are lions. And that's unfortunate for them.
So they don't deserve to get paid then. I should just say, forget them then.
Well, no, not by any means. But
I'm trying to make it easier. That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to make it easier.
Exactly what you're doing. Come in and make these people lions. Because we can't. The unfortunate part is when the person is a sheep, they're sheep. Lions got to come in and bring them into their herd. So I feel like what you're doing is bringing these people into your herd to be that lion, to understand this is what you need to know about your music.
That's what my attempt is to do, but I realize that when I get there, they're like, okay, just jump on her back. She's gonna make us be who we need to be, and I'm like, I'm not gonna. I need you to work too.
Exactly.
So what I'm trying to implement right now, I'm trying to develop. I don't know what it's in the works right now, but something that where the artist starts at the artist to get the rights done. Okay. Because actually, a lot of the stuff I'm cleaning up. Mm-hmm. Like Rodney O and Brother Marquise actually had the first gangster rap album in 1983, pressed before PSK, before Ice-T. The only reason that it's not publicized is because they were in Riverside, not in LA County. Okay. So they were on the outskirts just doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, Brother Marquise came from New York. His mom and his stepdad moved over here for Air Force. Okay. He met Ronnie O because Ronnie was in Riverside. They did their own thing and they created this album that's actually the holy grail of hip-hop. It's one of the that's treasure, but they're not even acknowledged for it because they're not in this little group that was all, you know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it's like that's a shame. Like people say they know hip-hop, but then they don't know the history. Yeah. Like Uncle Luke getting on BET Awards talking about how he was the one that did the whole freedom of speech and like First Amendment and how he paid all the court fees. Well, because you were stealing all the royalties from your own bandmates. So it wasn't like you paid. That was their money. Exactly. And I remember there's 3 people in court with you on top of that. So you weren't the only one doing it, but you want to sit there and say that you're the main guy. Yeah. But just because he's the louder one.
People like to take credit.
He's just the more boisterous one that the other people will get like. It's like Chinaman. He died when he was sick. He was sick, died with no insurance, didn't have his music rights. And it's like, how he was he was an immigrant. He was in the Air Force. And look what he did with hip hop culture. Yeah. And look how he passed. That pissed me off. I'm like, that's a fucked up American dream. And then we want to talk about these immigrants to come in. Like, it's like, what about the ones that were here and did something for us? And what are we giving back to them?
Well, I mean, again, I feel that you're a very integral part of trying to correct this system. And I guess, again, my question is, where do you go further with this? I mean, do you plan on trying to work for like a major label to change things?
They would want me there. I'm going to take everyone take a cut in salary. You're going to pay health insurance for all these legends. So no, they call me a disruptor. But what I want to do is like, I don't want to have this situation what I'm fixing 35 years later. I'm trying to prevent it. So if I could develop this system where it's either going to be an app, a plugin, something where the artist starts from the gate. To put your like me and you are in studio, right? Mm-hmm. So we write our name down. Yeah. And then we decide, okay, what part did you do? What part did I do? Right? Okay. Just like the DNA of the song. Now put it in the system so we get paid. How simple is that? That's all they have to do.
I will say I think a lot of newer artists are coming out more independent, so they don't have to go through the big labels.
They say that, but then when I ask them, are you set up with BMI? Are you set up with MLC? Are you set up with Sound Exchange? Huh? Oh. And I'm like, okay, so your music's streaming. Okay, so what are you doing on this platform? Spotify. What are you doing on Apple? What do you mean? I go, well, you're the product. You have your product in Spotify. You have your product in Apple. So that's like Target and Walmart. Mm-hmm. Each one of them has to have a separate campaign. What campaigns are you doing? Okay. It's just streaming. Are you on? Like, what do you mean it's just streaming? Like, how are you supposed to get money if you're not marketing it? And the thing is, each platform has their own tools to market, and they just want those tools to be implemented. So if you do the basic by implementing those tools that they offer, they will help you put you into the algorithm. Okay. But these artists don't even do the basic. They just put their music out, and exactly. It's like, then how do you expect? Like, what do you want me to do?
So you work with a lot of older artists. Have you thought about starting a management company for?
No, I work with I've worked develop artists too. Right now, I have Rob Norrie and Mr. Woolboy. He's from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's really. They're both real talented, but it's the same thing. It's like these artists, they want it, but it's like I'm very vocal. I'm like, you need to listen to me. You know what I mean?
Now, do you only work with rap artists? Do you do singers and everything?
I do singers too. My daughter. She was like a Amy Winehouse kind of singer. Okay. I was working with this artist in Spain. She was an R&B singer. Okay. And actually, I had another young artist who was under 18, so I was dealing with the mom, which is. She was a good songwriter, and I had her at the gates of like one of the top publishing companies. Okay. But then when I took her to a producer to get a master's, like she thought that person was the be all end all, and I'm like, but yeah, I'm the one that brought you to him. Exactly. I'm the one that got him out of retirement for you. But he was a power tripper, and I had someone better on the back burner, like DJ Quick, and I'm like, just come with me. And she's like, no, I want to. Okay, then I'm just gonna walk. Yeah. Because even though all the work I did to get you here, I'm just gonna have to tell Roundhill I couldn't do it. Okay. Because I don't want to bring her to them and then find out like she did them dirty too. So I was like, I don't want to bring people to people I know and have good connections with, knowing that person's not going to be of stand-up quality.
Are you looking for new artists too?
If I hear something.
Or is your contract pretty?
Actually, there's a kid in Chicago that has only 43 listeners, and I am like, I want him, but he doesn't even know I want him. He's like an R&B artist. Okay. And I don't know why. Find him? I just he actually liked something on my Instagram, and I'm like, who's this kid? And I went to go look at his stuff. I'm like, let's check him out. And I went to his YouTube, and I was like, oh, I like his style. And I went to his Spotify. He had 48 listeners. I'm like, I'm gonna watch him. So I've been watching him, and I would love. But I think he's under 18 too, so I'm like, I don't want to touch him until he's like an adult, because then I have to deal with the parents and all that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother beast in itself.
And then it's another thing too. Is like a lot of these artists, they want to jump onto the with these older artists' sad story. Like, we get taken advantage of. Like, you have not got taken advantage of. You have like a better life than what those legends. They had no internet. They had no education.
Exactly.
I understand. I can help them. I understand why, but there's no excuse why you can't type it up, Google it, find out where does my royalties come from. Simple. Like, that's how I learned. So there's one person that in the whole time when I was learning I admire was Arabian Prince. Okay. When I was learning the whole system, he was the one that got his royalties, and he's like, "This is not. Why am I not getting paid?" Went to Jerry Heller. It's like, "Pay me." He didn't want the fame. That's how it is. She didn't want the fame. He wanted the money, the business part. Now, if you want the fame, I'm not your girl. Okay. If you want to have a long career where you can profit and live nicely, I can help you do that.
Now, the longer you do this, the more influential you come in this. Because the big labels are already losing so much money. Because of streaming and all that stuff, they're going to come for your head if you really become too influential and get these people to actually do what they're supposed to do to protect themselves.
Well, yeah, they are. Yeah, but I don't. The artists are so like caught up with the whole fame of it, and the labels, they're evil. But even music placement right now. Like, I do music coordinating. I did a show, HBO Hype, and we placed music on that. And a lot of the music supervisors don't want to use independent artists because of the music rights not being set up right. They want to go to these sync agencies that have these artists, and they could just pick songs for them. But when I came on board, I'm like, I'm gonna give these artists a chance. Okay. So I went on a forum. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna clear all your music. I'm gonna clear your music, make sure, because supervisors like, that's a legality. So I'm like and the person I was working with was Paul Stewart, and he's the one that did Hustle and Flow. Yeah. And then he's the one that found Warren G and put him on Poetic Justice. Okay. So for him to trust me to do this, like, it's his name on the line, but I'm like, I'm gonna clear the music, and we're gonna get new sound, and we're gonna get these artists exposure, and it worked out.
What do you think about the way Chance the Rapper did it?
I don't like how he did his manager at the end.
Well, yeah.
His manager was an investor at the end, and that wasn't. But like a lot of the stuff I've done too wasn't in writing, especially with these legends. I don't want to put something in writing because I don't want them to feel like I was trying to take from them. Exactly. So I wanted to make them feel I'm on your team. In fact, at this point, when I first started, it's like we don't even know if we're going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So how am I going to sit here and tell you what you owe me when I don't even know? So let's just see if I could get it done.
Okay.
And then it just happened that I got it done.
Now, do you feel that what you do is profitable for you, or
it hasn't been?
It's more of a passion.
It's more of a passion.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been, but I'm hoping it'll kick in one day. You know,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not hurting. God's good like that. I'm not hurting, but it burns a little when you help an artist and they turn on you a certain way, or they don't even think about you. One thing that really upset me was one of my artists told me, "Too bad you're not black."
Wow.
And we achieved something that night.
Well, why? What was that?
Because they wanted that achievement to be with them and their
culture.
Yeah. But and I'm like, well, when you went to your black people, no one they wanted money from you. I'm the only one that came and was willing to do it.
But at the end of the day, I mean,
so that hurt. I cried. No, I was very hurt by that.
This is my thing. You're still black or not, you're still a minority. So I don't understand why that would even be.
Let's be honest here. They don't. It's not. We like to say that we're like it's about black. It's only when it's going to be beneficial. Like they do it. Well, they say that to be not political. They say that to be politically correct.
Well, I think for me, it's never been a black black, white, Mexican, or any other issue.
Exactly.
For me, it's more so, Hispanics are just as oppressed as blacks. So this is what I look at.
But are we oppressed? Are we oppressed? Look what I've done.
Yes.
Look what I've done.
But.
And I'm a woman too, so I'm a minority and a woman, so I don't feel oppressed.
Do we have opportunity? Of course. Do we have to work a lot harder than other cultures at those opportunities? Yes, we do. So when I say oppressed, that's what I mean.
I don't know.
Now, can we accomplish anything? Yes, we can. The unfortunate part is that a lot of people don't want to put that extra, and this is their fault and their fault alone. Don't want to put that extra effort forward to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. Luckily, I have in my life. I've been successful in my life for many years. I haven't worked for anyone since 2007.
Isn't that a great feeling?
It's an amazing
I
feeling.
love the feeling. That's why I don't think I've worked with the label, because I don't think what you tell me I'm working for, I don't think I could do it.
But there are still things that oppress blacks, Hispanics, even Asians.
If you let it.
But why should there even be that oppression there when it's not for this particular culture?
And this goes back to like what gave me my drive from the beginning was when they told me that I was going to be a statistic, that I should be in the mental hospital. My girls are going to end up on drugs or be pregnant, and they're not even going to graduate high school. And both of them are in universities. One at Fullerton University, and the other one's at Cal State Long Beach University. Both of them are thriving. Yeah. Both of them have 3 AAs and honors. So it's like, and here I am doing what I'm doing. So statistics and what they say I'm supposed to be, I mean, none of my girls thrived. I thrived. I mean, so I don't. It's a choice. Agree. But it's a choice.
I totally agree. I mean, I came from the slums of Chicago. Exactly. My life should have been a totally different route than it did. But that's because I chose to work extra hard. But at the same time, why? This is my thing. Why? And not really trying to name any, but why should? If you go to predominantly white areas, there are, let's say, just put a number out there, 10 opportunities right next door. When you go to a black area, you got to walk 20 blocks for one opportunity. So that's what I'm saying. It's just make the opportunities equal in the neighborhoods. So in impoverished neighborhoods, in low-income neighborhoods, give more opportunities. The reason why Chicago is one of the highest murder capitals in our nation is because there's not a lot of opportunities in the black neighborhoods in Chicago. I can walk right this close to you and find 20 illegal things to do. I gotta go 100 blocks. I gotta go 100 blocks to find one legal thing to do that would be beneficial for me. So that's the problem. Where when you go to white neighborhoods, I can go this close and I can find positive opportunities for myself in a white neighborhood. That's what I'm saying. So make more opportunity. When I say oppressed, that's what I mean.
And that's what my artist from Mr. Woboy. He's in Chicago, and he's a strong influence within his local neighborhood in Inglewood. So when I first signed him, I flew out there. I wanted to see his neighborhood, and I went with my little white man with the little. He was like my little white financial manager.
So you went over the white guy.
Yeah, white guy, south, all the way to the last train exit south. There you go. So we get off. So when we get off the plane, I had like the big old like I thought I was like Hollywood, right? I had the whole hat on, I had my Gucci stuff on.
Because you know it's not really a lot of Mexicans in Chicago.
So I didn't even have a place to stay at the point. So I'm like, I'll figure it out when I get there, right? So I ended up having, long story short, I ended up getting Airbnb, and we in South Chicago, South Side, by Inglewood, and so I go, so I went to my suitcase, and I put the hat in, and I put my beanie on, got my tennies on, and I was like ready to go. And then I turned, and I looked at my partner, and he's all white. I go, oh, we're still gonna get fucked up. I could probably blend, but no,
Yeah, you probably could.
But this little white boy was down. Like
Oh, really?
Yes, like he was ready to go if he had to go, right? But we had no problem. No one messed with us. We got off the train. So the apartments we were staying in, or I don't know if they're apartments, but we had to have a padlock to our, and we and him had to sleep in bunk beds.
Oh, wow.
So we were in one room with bunk beds that I rented for like $25 a night, and then I was around the corner from my artist, so I was in his area, so I got experiences. We got up the next morning, went to go get coffee, and since he had me on the outside of the street, I got pimped out. The guy asked me how much to take me.
Hold on.
I was like, did he just try to pimp me out?
Yeah. But don't get me wrong, Chicago's a beautiful city.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And it's definitely not. I don't want people to think if you go to Chicago, you're going to get shot or you're going to get beat up. But I will say this about Chicago.
There's a lot of talent there.
A huge amount of talent.
So that's why, let me finish what I was saying about what I was there.
Okay.
So, whoa, boy. So I saw the group of people, young men that he was mentoring and working with. And there's about 15 of them.
Okay.
There's about 9 of them left.
Oh, wow.
They're getting killed off. And I feel like I'm not doing my job to get them out of there. And Whoa Boy won't leave for me to help him out here because he doesn't want to leave.
Exactly.
And I get that, but it makes it a lot harder. But at the same time, it's like I commend him, but I'm trying to. It's very hard.
But you got to think, he with him being from Chicago, he's seen the ins and outs of Chicago.
He's seen a lot of deaths this last year.
And the what he's doing is commendable. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand it's hard for you, but it's commendable for him.
It's not even hard for me. Can you imagine him? What he's going through? Exactly. Fuck me.
And don't get me wrong. Chicago, like I said, it's a beautiful city. But people got to understand, Chicago is hungry. The people in Chicago are hungry, and they're going to do what they need to do to eat. And that's really why things, and don't get me wrong, there are some there that just don't have a sense of morality at all. But that's not the general consensus of people in Chicago. The people in Chicago are just hungry, and they got to eat, and they're going to do what they need to do to eat. And that's why a lot of these murders are happening, because they're doing a lot of talk about how Chicago, we need to do this, we need to do that for Chicago, but they're not putting opportunities in Chicago. And until you put positive opportunity in Chicago, it's not going to change. The law enforcement there, I don't know how it is now, but the law enforcement there when I was there was so corrupt. The government was so corrupt. It was all about them putting money in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? So they're not worried about their constituents, putting positive opportunities in these impoverished neighborhoods to give them more positive opportunities than negative ones. They're putting these drugs in these neighborhoods to make sure that they stay impoverished and make sure they stay kill each other. So
that's why I commend the Whoa Boy and his group because they're doing music and they're being passionate about it.
And that's the way out for a lot of people in Chicago. Whether it be music, whether it be sports, that fortunately is the way out for a lot of young youth in Chicago.
And there's a lot of them.
Exactly.
So there's an immense amount of
talent there. But
they want it. They crave it.
Music.
They would do that rather than go.
Of course.
So it's like,
of course,
we just need to get more of that resources to them.
Exactly.
Because if
but
they
no
know
one is trying to do that.
Arabian Prince calls it black gold.
Yeah.
The black gold in those inner cities. Like there's so much value in those cities. I
mean, when I was playing ball in Chicago, there was so many cats that could have went to the NBA, but they didn't have that upbringing and mentality, so they wasn't coachable. But their talent was so immense that they would have took Jordan out. Don't get me wrong, I love Jordan. They would have took LeBron out.
LeBron, you can take him out now.
LeBron, you can go down LeBron. LeBron is a man.
Okay, a man would not stay on the floor when you fall. A man gets up real quick. He sits there and notice me.
LeBron. So
I get up quicker than I jump up. No one sees me on the floor.
LeBron
so that's not a man.
You
can't call him a man. Do that. He's gifted.
Yeah.
He's talented.
But he's naturally gifted.
Yeah, but okay, so give that gift to Eddie Jones, who has heart.
Oh,
and tell me what that's gonna make.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay,
Yeah.
he doesn't
If
have
you
the
get
heart.
that athleticism and
He don't have
talent.
that. He's just gifted. He's just
I
blessed.
think LeBron.
And then he's so
has,
big, and he's gonna cry about
I think
stuff.
LeBron has heart. I just think LeBron. I think the coach. I mean, the referees have made LeBron into who he is because they give him every stupid call.
Because he cries so much. It's like,
but the referees didn't have to give it to him.
Do you not know how much he cries?
Yeah, but okay, my mom told me.
He sits on the floor, stops the game until you notice him.
When I first came to California, I was dating this young lady, and when I met her, she had a car that didn't go in reverse. She really didn't have nothing. I bought all this stuff, bought a new car, bought all these shoes. And when she got to California, she became this diva, and she never was that when we lived in Dallas. My mom said, "That's your fault." I said, "How's that my fault? She's a grown woman." She said, "Mandel, you took a woman that had nothing and gave her everything too fast. So you made her into that monster that you are." LeBron is a grown man. So he should be who he is. But the referees made him into the monster that he is.
They should call more stuff. They did not bring him here.
They should call more stuff against LeBron that they wouldn't allow other players to do, and he wouldn't feel that he entitled to the stuff.
He won championships because he cried so much.
No, he won championships off talent.
Okay, when he won the Warriors, right?
When he beat the Golden State Warriors.
Okay, Curry he never fouled out nothing. How come that final series, all of a sudden he fouls out?
Because he was fouling.
Because he was crying so much. Making him, because he was, and then we had no Laker ever write the NBA commissioner about fouls or complaining about fouls. But LeBron wrote a letter to the commissioner.
LeBron got so much influence in the NBA.
How convenient.
You know,
that's two. Those are two finals.
But they made him into this beast.
Finals.
Like they've given him too much entitlement, in my opinion, in the NBA, where he feels like he controls the NBA, and he couldn't feel that if they didn't give that to him.
He made it that way. He called himself the self-professed king.
Well, I mean,
I don't remember referees calling him the king. I think he called himself the king.
Well, yeah, but everybody has like the names.
Did that?
You got the Supermans, and you got the Mambas, and everybody got their own names that they give themselves.
But has anyone ever professed that they're the best? Not Jordan.
Yeah, Air Jordan. He did
Jordan?
profess that he was the best.
Jordan.
Yes.
Michael Jordan.
Kobe professed that he was the best too.
No, he was. People said he was the best.
He said it too.
No, if you asked him, he would say,
"Come on."
I think he never just stood out there and said, "I'm the best."
But I think when you have that amount of talent, you have to kind of. He's LeBron is a talent. And when you think about this, LeBron, and it's crazy how
his
we just
defense sucks.
Well, yeah, his defense does suck. But you got a lot of stars whose defense sucks. But LeBron, when he
but they're not saying they're the best though.
But he is the best. Well, he ain't the best right now.
Best you have to be. He wasn't the best. If you're the best, you have to be the defense and the offense.
But if you think about this, tell me one player in the NBA, whether it be Michael Jordan, whether it be Kobe Bryant, whether it be Tim Duncan, whether it be Kevin Durant, that took a team to the finals four seasons in a row, and you can't name not one other person that was on that team. Tim Duncan had Tony Parker. He had a bunch of people. Kobe had Shaq. He had a bunch of people. Kevin Durant had people when he went. He had the Golden State. He had the Golden State Warriors when he went to the championship. LeBron is the only person that has taken a team to the finals, and you can't name not. I'm not talking about when they won.
He cherry picks his team. I don't remember a player ever being able to cherry pick a team.
I'm not talking about when they won, but the seasons before that, he took them to the finals. When they didn't win, tell me
then
one.
Why does it even count?
Because they still made it to the finals. But tell me one player he had on his team.
Sports? It doesn't count unless you win.
Yes, it does. It count because you made it there. A lot of teams don't ever make it there.
Like the Clippers, the Clippers had no division titles. They got so happy when they got one.
But they never even been to the finals.
Okay, yeah, but they wanted to pray for the division. They got a cookie. I told them you get a cookie.
But say that to Chris Paul. This is the first time Chris Paul been to the finals. Telling him that it don't matter that he win.
If he loses, he'll say it doesn't matter. A real champion will say it won't matter.
He'll say it matters because he went. This is the first time he win in 15 years.
Don't ask a real champion if it matters if they don't win.
Man, I feel it like this. If I've been in the league 10 years and I ain't made it to the finals, man, just to make it to the finals will feel good. It may not. I may not say I'm a champion, but I'm gonna feel good.
I'd rather not say I win because if I didn't get a ring, I don't want it.
Okay.
Got that.
Now back to what we was talking about because I do want to hit a little bit more on your personal life and what you went through with that situation because I think that can help a lot of women out here. Because there are a lot of women that go through abusive relationships, and don't know how to get out of them, don't know how to deal with them, and once they do get out of them, how to continue to live. And you've continued to live, even with as dramatic as your experience was. I mean, from being beaten to being controlled, to having to go in the closet and separate yourself and listen to music, that could traumatize some people that won't be able to recover from that. So what do you feel you did that actually allowed you to recover? Because I'm not saying you fully recovered.
I don't hate men either. I still believe, as far as like, I still submit to whoever. That's why I'm single, I guess, because I haven't found that man I could actually give that much control and power. When I do, I will submit. It's like, let him control everything. I don't want to carry this weight.
But do you think you submit to the point that you did?
That was just demeaning. That was just no. But the thing is, that was the totally corrupt way of thinking submissive. Now I'm able to pick who I want and who I decided. I mean, I didn't pick that.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like, there's women out there that say they get beat, and this is where it gets me upset. It's like, my neighbor, I hear them fighting, and she says some stuff, some mean stuff. I don't even think I could not hit her. Like, and I was like, dude, like, why? So there's a point where women need to understand too. It's like, okay, no one should get hit. Mm-hmm. No one should get hit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, there's a respect on both sides. Yeah, I was just so to the extreme. I don't think, like, there's times where, like, women, I'm conflicted on that one, because I haven't seen a woman beat like I have. Yeah. Because we end up leaving or being dead, so we have no choice. Now the ones that sit there,
he was on the verge of him murdering you. Just
he was killing me that day. He was killing me. Yeah. So I decided, yeah. But I tell my daughter, she has a mouth on her, and I go, Mama, you're gonna get hit, and she's like, what do you mean I'm gonna get hit? I go, I'm not saying it's right. I go, but look, I didn't have parents that protect me. You have a mom that's gonna protect you. I can't sleep knowing someone touched my daughter. Yeah, so I'm like, knowing that, that's who I am. I told her, just shut up. Let's avoid getting you hit, because your mouth. Because I know I have a mouth too, and I know you could take a hit, Mama. I go, but that's not just instead of having a mouth and having to be right, it's not worth it. Because I'm gonna come out and I'm going to jail because you talked too much, or you just said something that you shouldn't have said, when you could just avoid it.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily agree. I feel that regardless of what a woman says, a true man should never put his hands on a woman.
Oh yeah.
The idea of a woman should have to shut up so she don't get hit.
A woman antagonizing. Yeah, but does she really need to antagonize?
That man needs to know how to walk away from that situation and not put his hands on.
A woman needs to know. But the thing, woman needs to know not to disrespect a man.
Yeah, but disrespect. Okay, so if a man disrespects me, will I knock him out? Yes. If a woman disrespects me, will I knock her out? No, I won't, because at the end of the day, this is how I feel, and it's just my feeling, that a woman cannot beat me. And if I fight someone, I want to fight someone where it's a competition. Mm-hmm. I don't want to fight someone that I can just dominate. Mm-hmm. So the idea of me hitting a woman simply because she disrespected me, when I could very easily just walked away and left her alone and not be with her no more. Now, don't get me wrong, that ain't the mentality of a lot of men out. Let me rephrase that.
What you're saying makes sense, but I'm talking about the ones that you walk away, right? Mm-hmm. But now she's throwing things at you, blocking you, not letting you go.
Well, yeah, that's a step further.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And then when you finally move her, or she trips, and when you're trying to get away, and then she wants to, like, even these football players, like, we call it, that get these domestic violence things. I'm like, they really need to have someone, like, analyze that whole situation.
I agree. Like what happened with Chris Brown. No one knows what happened in that car. And and I say stop making sides unless you were there. That's how I look at it. But like I understand what you're saying, because I was with the young lady I told you that I brought here. And I bought her everything, and she didn't have nothing, and my mom told me it was my fault. It got to a point where she was talking a lot of crap, and I'm not a woman hitter by any means. I think a man that hits a woman is a bitch. But she was about to leave at 3:00 in the morning. I said, I ain't gonna name her name. I said, look, just go in the room and go to sleep. Once the morning gets here, you can leave all you want, but I'm not letting you leave at 3:00 in the morning. It's dangerous. You don't need to leave. So she put a key between her finger, and I stood in front of the door. And I didn't put my hand. I just kind of stood in front of the door and said, look, just go in the bedroom and go to sleep. I'll sleep on the couch. We ain't got to go through this.
He said it so kindly too. It's so nice. Yeah, it's just so nice that she just didn't want to hurt him.
I think in a heated moment like that.
So she didn't hurt you. She didn't.
Well, let me continue. But I think in a heated moment like that, if I get loud, I think that puts more anger. To make a long story short, what she did is, when I was standing in front of the door, she put a key between her finger, and she approached me like this, and I said, look, Taisha, I said, look, I would never hit a woman, but if you hit me with that key, I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's best that you take your ass in the room and go to sleep. And she never saw that anger in me like that. So she put the key down, went in the room, went to sleep. But I think it can be diffused in the right way.
It can.
I don't think
it has
that
to be
a man
mutual
has
respect
to, yeah,
on
but I
both
don't
ends.
think a man, regardless of the respect, because for a woman to put a key and actually threaten to hit me, for me that was disrespect. Because if a man did that, I would have knocked him out.
Yeah.
But
I don't care what man or woman. I'm not.
But the fact, well, you're a woman. So, but the fact that I looked at it like, okay, this is a woman. Even if she hit me with that key in between her fingers, this is my thought. She ain't gonna be able to hit me anyway. But even if she tried to, I don't know how I'm gonna respond to it. So let me diffuse this situation and make sure she understands.
She has
that
3 seconds of being stunned.
It's gonna be some consequences.
That's what.
But I think a man, even if the woman is disrespecting him, that man can diffuse the situation if he's a true man.
After my ex-husband did what he did, I ended up with one other abusive guy, right? Mm-hmm. And we were outside. He wouldn't let me leave. Like he wouldn't, just trying to keep me in front. So someone called the cops. They saw this going on. The cops came, ran my name, ran his name, and they gave him the pass and said, "Yeah."
Oh, I go. Look, because you was in an abusive relationship
because
before?
of what my affiliation with my ex-husband.
Oh.
I go, okay, so I go, next time there's not gonna be blood on my. It's not gonna be my blood next time. So if you don't take him, it's gonna be him this time. And they let him go. And
you got a little mean streak in you.
Well, it's not gonna now. It's not gonna be me or you. It's not gonna be me. Like my husband, 6'3", prison bill. If you could take him on, you could take me on. If you can't, then you can't take me on.
So I will say this, because I'm not going to hold you up too much longer. But it was a pleasure to have you on.
It was fun.
And the reason why it was a pleasure because, sometimes when we have guests on, we agree with everything. And I like the fact that you brought opposing views into this, to give different perspectives to everyone that may be watching this. I'm
gonna get haters. I know it.
No, I don't think you're gonna get hated. I think there's a lot of people that's gonna see this and they're gonna feel the way you do. They're gonna be able to understand why you are the way you are, feel the way you are, just like that some may understand the way I am.
They can help explain it to me because sometimes I don't even know why I feel the way I feel.
But I'm glad that you came.
Thank you.
And I definitely, want to have you on at a later date, and kind of see what happens with some of these artists that you have. That
maybe I'll bring them too.
Yeah, see if you actually got, some of them to come over to the other side and do what they're supposed to do to get there.
Well, Brother Marquise is.
Okay. So,
and that whole, the Chinamans family and all that. So, November 2022 is when they get their music rights back.
Okay. So do you have any events coming up that people can go see or do or anything like that?
Not right now. I'm trying to get Ronnie O booked for some. He has one show in October. We just did DJ Quick's concert.
Okay.
I'm managing a new group called A.L.N.S.
Okay.
A.L.N.S. Listen. If you listen to those two artists, there's a
L-S-N?
Yeah, listen.
Okay.
There's a special treat if you really listen.
Okay.
They have they're anonymous. You can't see their faces, but listen to it.
So for new artists that may be looking for a manager that's going to help them out as good as you helping your people out, can you give your Instagram account and
Sure.
way to get in contact with you?
At Necole at Necole 33, and then that's my Instagram right now.
Okay. So that's at Necole 33
yes.
on Instagram. So for all you artists out here that's looking for someone that's going to go to bat for you, that's going to make sure you get your royalties and your rights and everything in order. Look up Necole.
If you're willing to work.
Exactly. Like she said during this podcast, you definitely got to be willing to work for yourself.
I ain't going to do it.
She's not here to babysit you. She's here to help you.
Yes.
All right. Well, Mr. Cole, it was definitely a pleasure.
Nice.
And like I said, we're going to bring some of your artists on the podcast and let's talk to them so we can get their side of what Mr. Cole is doing out there for them.
I should let you see our Zoom meetings.
Well, people, this has been A.L.N.S. This is Mandel, and as always, make sure you stay safe and stay blessed. And if you ain't living to the fullest, you're not living. Until next time.
I always tell the truth.